Before we formally start, I want to take a moment to honor the memory of two people. First, of Peter Jennings, an exceptional newsman who represented the best in broadcast journalism and who was and who remains an inspiration to all of us. At Annenberg, we'll continue to seek out those who hope to follow in his footsteps. And also, we'd like to honor Betsy Cronkite, who was Walter's wife and partner for over 60 years. They met when they were both working for KCMO AM in Kansas City. After they married in 1940, Betsy continued her own journalism career for some time before supporting her husband in his endeavors and raising their 3 children. She was with us 4 years ago in Washington, D.C. for the first Cronkite Awards, and she's with us today in spirit once again. So please join me for a moment of silence in honor of Betsy Cronkite and Peter Jennings. Thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce, for anybody who doesn't know him at this point, the director of the Norman Lear Center and the Associate Dean of the Annenberg School, Marty Kaplan.
Thank you. One of the privileges that I get is to thank other people. And so I'm going to do it in a bit of a whirlwind fashion. I would ask that you save up your applause and hold it, and then once I'm done enumerating our thanks, then give them all one great big thank you. I'm going to ask some people to raise their hands as I mention them by groups. If you look at your program, if you have one, on the back, there is a list of people who were on the jury for the Cronkite Awards and who were screeners. Could those of you who are here please raise your hands? Excellent. And no, hold your applause. And Chris Van Oker, your dad couldn't make it, but Chris from Salt Lake City is here. Where's Chris? There he is. Excellent. Okay. Vicki Porter and Sophie Lafferty and others at the Western Night Center are here. Where's Sophie? Outside. That is the kind of sacrifice staff has to make. For others who are part of the Western Night Center seminar, which is going on at the same time as this, to Michelle Raphael and the Norman Lear Center staff, Jeff Baum, Giovanna Carrera, and the Annenberg School staff, Marlene Adler, who is the person that is my secret weapon for all things involving the Cronkite Award. Please, all of you, join me in thanking all of them. We also have here members of the Annenberg School Board of Counselors. We have USC vice provosts and deans and university professors and guests from India and Israel and probably Ireland and Italy too. But there are so many distinguished people here. You know who you are. But there is one whom I am thrilled to be able to recognize in particular. He was gracious enough to let us name the center that we have after him. He is a wonderful philanthropist. He is a great friend, and he is a legend in American entertainment and politics. And he's saying more. Please thank Norman Lear. You will, I'm thrilled to say, get many chances today to applaud our most honored guest, and so I'm going to give you one more chance. There was a Gallup poll released this morning about trust in the news media, and it contains a graph of Americans' trust in the news running from 1972 to 2005, with some years missing. And I would like to say that the last moment that that graph showed the highest amount of trust in the media, and after which it declined, is when Walter Cronkite was in the anchor chair at CBS. The Lear Center has lots of projects. One of them is to look at the way in which entertainment affects other parts of society. In so many ways, news has become entertainment. Literally, news divisions have become profit centers of large corporations that do much more than news. News is ratings-driven, and politics seems to be considered by many people in the news business to be ratings poison. And so as a result, rather than using the skills that they clearly have in other news stories and direct them toward politics, instead, politics has been abandoned by many stations. Politics itself has also become a species of entertainment. Anyone watching what's gone on in the last couple of weeks, the way in which spin and photo opportunities and PR has been so much at the heart of what we have seen, can see a recent example of the way in which politics itself has become entertainment. Add to that the way in which big money now drives what citizens see of politics. In many markets, the coverage of political campaigns is outweighed by the paid advertising by ratios, unbelievably, of 100 to 1 and more. And at the same time, we have a Federal Communication Commission which does not enforce accountability and which seems to feel, in the words of a 1980s era FCC chair, that the public interest is what the public is interested in. The response to that at the Lear Center has been to work on every front we can to see if the news that Americans say they watch and depend on about politics can be better. And we do that in lots of different ways. We have created the very first archive anywhere in the United States of local news. We have more than 15,000 hours of local news from 150 stations and 55 markets all over the country, stretching back a number of years, available online for any scholar or journalist or student to look at. We also do analyses of that news. And we, through online techniques, enable others to do analyses of that news. We testify to the FCC and to Congress about what we find in that analysis. We create tools. We have online a site called Reliable Resources, where if you're a reporter, a general assignment reporter, you've been thrown into covering a political story, you have no idea what to do, you can go to our site and there's a reporter's Rolodex where you can click on your state and find out all the people who are academic experts, political reporters, party officials, state and local officials, in order instantly to get yourself up to speed. We also compile videotapes of some of the best political coverage. Here from 2002 election, here from the 2000 election are examples of best practices which we send for free to every newsroom in the country and also to every journalism school so people can see the good stuff that goes on. And we have training workshops. This week, the Cronkite Award winners are meeting together and with other reporters from around the country in order to share their tricks of the trade, how they deal with corporate culture. What is it that enables people to defy the odds and become terrific reporters? The Cronkite Award began 6 years ago. It's our effort to shine a spotlight on the great stuff that is being done to enable those reporters and general managers and producers to go back to their stations and say, look, what we're doing is valuable. We got the Walter Cronkite Award. There could be no greater name to attach to excellence. And I want to close by saying that in things that we do to try to embody these values, the Annenberg School for Communication could not be more fortunate to have as its dean a great former director of the Voice of America when the Voice of America was the Voice of America, to have as its director of the journalism school Michael Parks, whose record and leadership embodies journalistic excellence, to have on its faculty people like Murray Fromson, who was a reporter and broke many stories on the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite, to have as its alumni people like Stan Chambers, who is here with us today, to join other examples of excellence, and to have the person whom it's my pleasure to introduce, a teacher of broadcast journalism and a familiar figure to all of us who watch ABC or listen to National Public Radio. Please join me in welcoming our MC for the awards, Judy Muller.
Thank you, Marty. It is a real privilege to be here today with the Cronkite winners, broadcast professionals, and the students. I see a few of you out there. You're the most important people in the room often, from my point of view. Certainly to be here with Walter Cronkite. I joined CBS News as a reporter in 1980, that summer. Walter Cronkite was just retiring, and I'll never forget as I sat at my little typewriter in my corner of the newsroom, and yes, it was a typewriter, that's how old I'm talking. And Walter walked through the room, and I felt such a thrill, you know. I'm in the same newsroom with Walter Cronkite. And then, of course, I immediately panicked. I'm in the same room. I'm a fraud. They're going to figure it out. And somehow I managed to stay on for 10 years without them figuring it out. But it's always a thrill. It's still a thrill when I'm in the same room with Mr. Cronkite. Today we celebrate the 2005 winners of the Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Television Political Journalism. These winners from national, local, public, and cable networks and stations from across the country are honored for their political coverage during the 2004 election season. They provided viewers with innovative, issue-focused coverage that informed them about their electoral choices. Their coverage helped their viewers understand who the candidates were, what the issues were, and how those electoral choices could affect their lives. This included providing candidates with opportunities and time to explain their platform and views about governing. The first category of winners we honor today is Station Group, winning its third consecutive Cronkite Award in this category. Hearst Argyle Television was recognized by the judges for its true commitment to political coverage, for giving time to issues and for ensuring that reporters gave those issues substance and clarity to viewers. In this clip, we'll see an overview of Hearst Argyle's, that's a hard one, Hearst Argyle's extensive political coverage, with a special focus on the presidential candidates debate held in New Hampshire. Let's take a look. "29 prime-time debates, 32 one-on-one programs,
65 hours of candidate-centered coverage in our newscasts. Hearst Argyle Television's Commitment 2004 was an unprecedented effort to bring viewers closer to the campaign and the issues.
Vote 2004's Special Edition, the New Hampshire Democratic Debate. Reporting from the Johnson Theater on the campus of the University of New Hampshire, Ted Koppel.
I was simply asking you whether you thought that Howard Dean could beat George W. Bush. Not a one of you raised his or her
I'm sure
hand.
I'm sure that all of us think that we have the best chance to beat George Bush. But I think we're all united in wanting to replace George Bush with a much better president. This president has let this country down every possible way.
It's just a smidgen. We give you a smidgen. You can find all of these clips, by the way, on the internet site. So that's if you want to see more. Two members of the Hearst Argyle team are here with us today. Dan Weiser, news director for KCRA in Sacramento, and Hearst Argyle news director Candy Altman, who will be accepting the award for the group. Candy?
Thank you very much, Judy, and thank you to Reliable Resources and the Annenberg School and the Norman Lear Center for giving us this award again. I think any of us who've watched television in the last 4 weeks realize that political coverage is incredibly important in this country. Every story that comes out of both Katrina and Rita deals with politicians' decisions and how those decisions directly affect the lives of our viewers. And I think as we look to the next election cycle, we're going to need to be asking some very critical questions as journalists about leadership and about the ability to plan. And those are the kinds of things that we hope that all television stations and station groups will take on as a real important opportunity for us. On behalf of Hearst Argyle, David Barrett, our CEO, who has always said that this is a really important part of who we are and what we do, and Fred Young, who's our Senior VP of News, I want to thank you again for this incredible honor.
Our second category is Broadcast Network. Also winning its third consecutive Cronkite Award in this category is NBC News for Meet the Press. As you'll see in a moment, Meet the Press won for host Tim Russert's interview with President Bush. Judges described the interview as a strong example of issue-oriented journalism. Let's watch this clip in which Mr. Russert questions the president's view about the necessity of going to war in Iraq after learning of the lack of evidence of WMDs.
From the Oval Office at the White House, this is a special edition of Meet the Press with Tim Russert, an exclusive interview with President George W. Bush.
In light of not finding the weapons of mass destruction, do you believe the war in Iraq is a war of choice or a war of necessity?
My judgment, we had no choice when we look at the intelligence I looked at that says the man was a threat. And we'll find out about the weapons of mass destruction that we all thought were there. That's part of the Iraqi Survey Group and the group I put together to look at. But again, I repeat to you, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but David Kaye, who was the man who led the Iraqi Survey Group, who has now returned with an interim report, clearly said that the place was a dangerous place. When asked if President Bush had made the right decision, he said yes. In other words, the evidence we have uncovered thus far says we had no choice.
Right. Accepting the award for Meet the Press is the executive producer, Betsy Fisher. Betsy.
Thank you very much, Judy, and thank you to the Annenberg Center, Norman Lear Center, and USC. We've had a great yesterday and today of learning from our fellows, and this has just been a great couple of days. And I accept this on the behalf of a team of 6 researchers and producers that just pour their heart and soul into the show every week in preparation, whether it's an interview with the President of the United States or a mayor. Every week it's the same preparation. And as Tim Russert said when we won this award 6 years ago, and he usually says things best, receiving a journalism award from Walter Cronkite is the equivalent of a baseball player receiving an award from Babe Ruth. So thank you very much.
Next is the local station large market category. We have 3 winners in this category, and we'll begin with WCVB in Boston. WCVB, that must be fun to say on a daily basis. WCVB won for its thoughtful, well-written, candidate-oriented reporting and its effort to cover issues important to its local audience. WCVB was also a winner in 2001. Let's take a look at this clip in which the station covers the hoopla of the Democratic presidential candidate nomination for John Kerry in its and his hometown.
The Democratic National Convention climaxes outside the Fleet Center as protests turn fiery. Inside the hall tonight, John Kerry calls this the most important election of our lifetime.
We have it in our power to change the world, but only if we're true to our ideals. And that starts by telling the truth to the American people.
In his own hometown, John Kerry has just accepted his party's nomination for the presidency.
I will be a commander-in-chief who will never mislead us into war. I will have a vice president who will not conduct secret meetings with polluters to rewrite our environmental laws. I will have a Secretary of Defense who will listen to the advice of the military leaders, and I will appoint an Attorney General who will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Accepting the award for WCVB Boston is senior producer Rosemary Lappin. Rosemary?
This is truly a tremendous honor for all of my colleagues in Boston at WCVB TV. A few years back, we won this award. We were very honored then, and to again be here in the presence of Walter Cronkite is a tremendous thrill. WCVB is owned by Hearst Argyle, and we follow the edict of issue-oriented political coverage. We have done very well by this edict, and our ratings haven't suffered. So we are the #1 station in Boston. So I think there is something to be said for political coverage. The other thing is the really fun, amazing part of 2004 for us working in news in Boston was that our native son and junior Senator John Kerry became the Democratic nominee. 35,000 Democrats came to the Fleet Center for the Democratic National Convention. The New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. And 1 week before Election Day, the most extraordinary thing happened. The Boston Red Sox won the World Series for the first time in 86 years. So we were thumping with election all year long and sharing resources with our amazing sports teams, and it was a very happy marriage and a hell of a place to cover news in 2004. Thank you very much.
WFAA Dallas won its second consecutive... Does that voice stop the room or what? Okay. WFAA Dallas won its second consecutive Cronkite Award for its ongoing commitment to bring political issues and candidates to viewers. The station covered both the local and national aspects of the 2004 races and created a unique partnership with another station in the market, to give free airtime to candidates. In this clip, the station investigates allegations about money and contributions made in television ads for 2 local congressional candidates.
Congressman Pete Sessions. At dueling news conferences this week, Congressman Pete Sessions got the endorsement from business groups, big and small.
Small businesses have one friend in this race, that's Congressman Pete Sessions, and they have one very determined and consistent adversary, Congressman Martin Frost.
At the same time, Congressman Martin Frost spoke on airline security, supported by the flight attendants and pilots unions. One thing ties these seemingly disconnected events together: money. According to the Nonpartisan Center for Responsive Politics, Sessions received $887,000 from business groups and $5,500 from unions. He's a consistent vote for cutting business taxes and regulations.
Martin Frost has a 100% AFL-CIO voting record. He is no friend to business.
Compare Sessions' fundraising to Frost, who got $451,000 from business and $355,000 from unions. Frost fought for unionized airport screeners and against new federal overtime rules.
My opponent, of course, I guess doesn't have any money from working people.
Accepting the award for WFAA Dallas is reporter Chris Heinbach. Chris?
Thank you very much. This means a lot to us. On behalf of my station, I want to say thank you and to tell you what an honor it is to be in such good company. This is really the cream of the crop when it comes to journalists. Despite obstacles from within and without, the journalists here go after their work with a determination to do the job, to get it done, and to do it with quality. And it is also with a clear understanding of just how important this is to the health of our democracy. I also want to recognize my company, BELO, and its commitment to continuing to cover politics. It should be no surprise that 3 of the winners and 1 of the fellows here today are with BELO as well. And finally, I just want you to know what a tremendous group of journalists I work with at Channel 8. And our 2004 coverage was really a team effort. 5 years ago, I left one of the most beautiful cities in the country, Seattle, to go work for the legendary WFAA. And I can tell you I have never been disappointed. We've faced a lot of changes, like many newsrooms in the country, and change is never easy. But I can tell you our political team, from the anchors to the reporters to the producers to the photographers, everyone went at it with a determination to never give an inch when it came to our journalistic and ethical standards. And so this award is a great affirmation. Thank you.
I'm thrilled that I've made up the time. I'm just kidding. This is a broadcaster's mind at work. Also winning in this category is WFLA in Tampa, Florida. WFLA won its 2nd Cronkite Award for the impressive amount of resources it committed to election coverage. That's the wording of the judges, including substantial reporting on local issues, most notably the U.S. Senate race in Florida. The station also employed solid reporting, engaged in enterprise journalism. Both techniques are evident in its compelling story on felon voting lists, which we'll watch now.
Sheila Davis is a convicted felon, and like thousands more, she thought her voting privileges had been restored. In fact, she even voted in the August primary. But late last week, the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections Office sent her this letter saying she wouldn't be allowed to vote next week, even though she had her letter restoring her civil rights in hand. When a felon's rights are restored, the Elections Office is supposed to be notified automatically. But that isn't always the case, and it wasn't for Sheila Davis. 8 on Your Side wanted to know why, and we sent Rod Carter to find out.
I walked right in up at the park where we go to vote in our district, and I voted. My name was on the list and everything. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Sheila further assumed everything was okay based on this letter that she received from the Office of Executive Clemency back in July. The letter states all of her rights except the right to own a gun had been restored. But the supervisor's office never got the letter. They say it was up to Sheila to get it to them. So her registration, they say, was not valid.
A contingent from WFLA is here with us, including the station's political consultant, Susan McManus, and Mike Vasalinda of Mike Vasalinda Productions. Accepting the Cronkite Award for WFLA Tampa is special projects producer Lisa Hyvarinen.
Thank you so much. What an honor. It's our second one, and we couldn't be more thrilled. Like you heard, we have two of our team here today. Susan McManus, who's the very backbone of our entire operation. She's a distinguished political science professor at the University of South Florida, absolutely my second hand in everything I do. And Mike Vasalinda, who is the Tallahassee Capitol Bureau. He does everything for us up there, and I couldn't do my job without them. Our coverage at WFLA Channel 8 is Voice of the Voter. We take everything from our viewers, for our online customers, and from our newspaper readers. We ask them to give us the questions they want answered. And we take those questions directly to the candidates, and we ask them to answer those. It's a different way of doing news, and it's a wonderful way that works for us because we're in the I-4 corridor, which is the highway to heaven for political candidates in Florida, the home of the independent voter. And we have the luxury of forcing them to answer the questions our viewers want answered. This award today is our second one, like I said before, and it is a great thrill for me to take it back into our newsroom because it's going to be our hope and goal in the years to come to have many more of these, using the wonderful formula that we're using. But one of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily know about our station is that because we do have a TV station jointly working with a newspaper, the Tampa Tribune, and an online partner, Tampa Bay Online, we have leveraged 3 platforms to do excellent political coverage. If you get a chance at some point in time, log on to tbo.com and put in the keyword elections. All of our stuff from 2004 is there, and it should be a good roadmap for a lot of you. This award belongs to Susan McManus. Oh, thank you. All right. It's nice to have 2. All right. I guess I'm going to be carrying a lot of this stuff. So anyway, belongs to my teammates, and then, of course, my other teammates who couldn't be here today, William March, who's the chief political writer for the Tampa Tribune, and John Vaughn, who was the executive editor for the political section, and Peter Howard, who is our political editor for the Tampa Bay Online. So for all of us, it's a great honor, and I really appreciate being singled out for such a wonderful, wonderful honor. And for once, it wasn't for a hanging Chad.
So
these are all us. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's for the whole station. You need help. Is there something?
Yes.
Winning in the local station media market category is Wisconsin Public Television. WPT won its second consecutive Walter Cronkite Award for demonstrating through knowledge of the candidates, the state, thorough knowledge, that is, thorough knowledge of the candidates, the state, and the issues. The station's Reality Checks Ad Watch series, its Where in Wisconsin's issue series, and its debate coverage showed the depth of the station's commitment to political coverage. In this clip, we'll see a reality check of the ad claims made by 2 local Senate candidates regarding their policies on reimportation of prescription drugs from Canada.
One of the hottest debates in this campaign has been over something both candidates agree on: reimporting drugs from Canada. Tim Michels fired first with a TV ad, then Feingold replied, then Michels replied to that reply.
The high cost of prescription drugs.
The ad that started it all only aired in the La Crosse media market. It's 30 seconds long, but really the last 5 seconds are what counts.
Unlike Russ Feingold, I'll fight for your right to buy safe and affordable prescription drugs from Canada.
This claim is misleading. It implies Feingold opposes reimportation. That is flatly wrong. And at the very least, it says he's not fighting hard for that right. Since 2000, Feingold has sponsored or co-sponsored 6 amendments or bills allowing Canadian imports, from July 19th of 2000 to April of this year.
I just looked at it and I went, you got to be kidding. I've been one of the top leaders on this issue for years, ever since it came up.
Michaels refused to comment to us on what he feels Feingold has not done on this issue.
Accepting the award for Wisconsin Public Television is Executive Producer of News and Public Affairs, Kathy Bisson.
Please allow me to be goofy for a moment, would you? And join me in being goofy. Please put your hands out like this and hold them there. Now, everyone, you all have the freedom to put your hands down when you want. You have the responsibility, however, to the rest of your table. If you put your arms down, everybody at your table has to put your arms down. Last table up wins. That's what our job is about. I mean, think about it. We have the freedom, really, to do whatever we want. Yes, we have corporate mandates, and we have budget issues, and we have staff and time and deadlines and everything, but we have an amazing gift, the airwaves. And that space between the camera and the television set is precious. And we have the freedom to do what we want with it. But we have to remember the responsibility to the people at our table, to our communities. And I am so lucky to work with a great group of people at public television who recognize that responsibility and put their hearts into their job every day. And I accept this on their behalf. And also, I have to say, the reality check we did in partnership with Madison, Wisconsin's local CBS affiliate, and that was actually a CBS reporter. We did that together because that was one way we both could do this. We couldn't do it alone, and we were able to meet that responsibility to our viewers that way. Thank you so much to USC, Annenberg, Mr. Cronkite, for everything you have meant to me my entire life. Well, not my entire, not quite. You are an icon, and you know that, and you continue to be that, and will be forever. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
In the local station small market category, the winner is KY3, an NBC affiliate in Springfield, Missouri. The station won for the quality and depth of its reporting, rarely seen in even much larger market stations. The station also showed a commitment to informing voters in lengthy, carefully balanced pieces that displayed a willingness to travel and to dig to get the story. In this clip, the station fact-checks the ad campaigns of 2 local congressional candidates. Let's watch.
McCaskill failed to pay her own property taxes for 3 years, and her lake house had to be put up for auction to collect the taxes.
Then Democrats shot back.
It's Matt Blunt who's faced questions about his property taxes. He's the one who got a break on property taxes from a political contributor.
We did our own fact-checking and found the Republican ad distorts the facts.
And her lake house had to be put up.
The truth is, McCaskill's brother was staying at her condo in Osage Beach. He kept putting off paying a $2,000 tax bill. The bill was paid. The home never went up for auction. We asked McCaskill about the ad.
It's unfortunate that they want to try to twist and contort the truth.
We also asked Matt Blunt about the ad. He made it clear the Republican Party, his party, ran the ad, but not him.
I think if the allegations in those advertisements are true, it's very disturbing.
You do support the message that they're sending to voters. You think that it is true?
I've actually never seen one. So I'm on the road a lot.
You haven't seen the ads on television?
I've never seen one of the Missouri Republican Party advertisements.
Accepting the award for KY3 is Executive Producer Brad Bellow.
As I told my staff when we were notified that we were a winner, we don't do what we do for awards, but it is nice to be recognized for something that really was a total team collaboration. It wasn't just 1 or 2 people in the newsroom. It really was an entire station-wide commitment to put in the resources to provide quality coverage. And it's reassuring to know that there are stations out there willing to do that. Thank you to the Annenberg School, to the judges, of course, and thanks to the winners and non-winners, and as well as the Knight Fellows here. I think you guys keep raising the bar and giving us something to shoot for. Thank you.
I should probably put this up for people taller than me, which is almost everyone in the room. The Cronkite Award winner in the local cable news station category is 6 News from Lawrence, Kansas. A station that reaches approximately 30,000 homes, 6 News produced compelling, candidate-oriented political coverage that informed its voters about local hot-button issues. Again, that's a quote from the judges. This cable station proves that resources do not need to be an obstacle to well-produced political coverage. In this clip, we'll see 2 local congressional candidates compared and contrasted in light of their stances regarding the gay marriage initiative.
Republican challengers have tried unsuccessfully to unseat Congressman Moore in the past 2 elections. The question now is, will this year be different?
If my positions are extreme, then I guess Dennis Moore thinks the people of Kansas are extreme, because all of these positions are ones that are supported by the people of Kansas.
From where he stands, everybody's a liberal. And I'd rather discuss issues and stop the name calling.
The race between 58-year-old Democratic incumbent Dennis Moore and 38-year-old Republican challenger Chris Kobach has been a heated one. Kobach, a resident of Overland Park, has repeated the importance of, as he says, preserving the institution of marriage. He's in favor of making an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that defines marriage as a union between one man and one woman.
If we do not pass a federal marriage amendment, then we will, in fact, have gay marriage in Kansas.
Kobach's opponent, Lenexa resident Dennis Moore, says his personal belief is that marriage is between a man and a woman, but
states have, throughout our history, regulated marriage, and I think that should continue.
Accepting the award for 6 News is Cody Howard. Cody.
You move the microphone up for the shortest guy in the room, I think, so let's slide it back down a little bit. I would like to thank the Annenberg School and the Norman Lear Center. It's a great honor to be here among the best of the best, highlighted, of course, by Mr. Cronkite. It's heartening to receive this kind of recognition when solid political coverage seems to be a dying art, and it's great to see all the work that we're all doing, and it kind of restores faith that there can be good journalism done on the really important issues going on out there. I would also like to thank our owners back home, the Simons family, and the 6 News staff, the hardworking reporters and photographers who bought into this project and really turned out a good product. It's quite an honor. Thank you.
Now we've reached the individual achievement category, our final category of these 2005 Cronkite Awards. We have 3 winners in this category. Working as a team, reporter Robert Mack and producer Mike Cate from King TV in Seattle won their 2nd Cronkite Award for their thorough and balanced coverage, quality writing, and top-notch reporting and producing. This duo and their crew went far beyond the state of Washington to bring their viewers an up-close look at the process behind the New Hampshire primaries. In this clip, they follow Democratic hopeful General Wesley Clark as he makes his way to a publicity stunt at a local market.
This is the first primary in the nation, one of the biggest spectacles in presidential politics. And you won't see anything like it in 2 weeks when Washington State holds its caucuses on February 7th. So up front this week, we give you a glimpse at the process of picking a president and how it has begun.
In the town of Goffstown, New Hampshire, something is about to happen. A satellite truck in the parking lot of Sully's Superette is the first clue. The locals see this once every 4 years.
It's like always on the TV, and they're knocking at your doors now, and they're trying to get you to who you're voting for and all this stuff, and it's just a pain in the neck.
In an hour, Democratic presidential candidate Wesley Clark is going to come and bag some groceries. Clark's campaign staffer in charge of the event is making sure it's not at this checkout lane because the background would be a shelf of cigarettes and that wouldn't work. Outside, the media start to gather. Right on time, General Clark pulls up in a Dodge van. Within seconds, the cameras move in.
You have my vote.
All right, thank you, sir.
Local residents can't even
Is it a
get
make or
close.
break moment? I think it's a great time to talk about America and how to bring a higher standard of leadership to America.
Wasn't he supposed to meet us?
So it was kind of like,
That's
we felt
right.
like, I felt like
That's
I was
why he's in 4.
I felt like I was a bride at like, you know, the altar, and the groom just left.
Robert Mack and Mike Kate, please come up to accept your awards.
Well, I have to say this is a thrill. Robert's the talker of the group, obviously. But I'd like to thank, first of all, I'd like to thank the station for allowing us to do this kind of work. They just say, do it, we do it, and I don't think you get that every place. I'd like to thank my wife and kids, who I'm sure my kids' first phrase is that they learn is, "Where's Daddy?" I work with the finest local reporter in the country. I can say that without having done any research because I know it's true. And I'd like to thank the people here at USC, Walter Cronkite, for encouraging better journalism, better political reporting. Thank you.
Well, I think all of us in this room know that covering politics in local television is an uphill battle these days. So I, too, want to thank Mr. Cronkite and the folks at USC and the Western Knight Center for shining the spotlight on what we do and why we do it. Mike and I firmly believe that informed communities make better decisions. I also want to thank the folks at King and the Belo Corporation for giving us the opportunity to prove that viewers do care about politics. My mother happens to be in the room today. I would like to... I'd like to thank both my parents for having great spirited political discussions after watching the CBS Evening News. It's the best thing we can do for our kids. I want to also say just a couple words about my producer, Mike Kate. 14 years we've worked together, shared a great friendship and a common curiosity about everything around us. I want you to know he is the one who keeps me out of trouble. For example, he is the one who told me and reminded me that both of us need to thank our wives today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my wife. She also happens to be a Trojan, and as they say, fight on.
Oh, the mother thing always gets me. Reporter Katie Moore from KOAA TV in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Just an aside here. Katie's a former student of Pat Dean when she was at Northwestern. We've got Pat now, so we feel like we've won. Reporter Katie Moore also won a Cronkite Award for individual achievement. Katie won for her wide range of reporting, including in-depth candidate profiles, a bold two-part series on religion and politics, and truth checks. In this clip, she investigates the claims of 2 local Senate candidates regarding their policies on cutting taxes.
Rolling back tax cuts is raising taxes, and further tax cuts are fiscally irresponsible. Those are the messages the Coors and Salazar campaigns want you to take away from their new campaign ads on taxes.
Our nation is at war. Our deficit is exploding.
Both campaigns agree that's true. It's the rest of the ad that the campaigns spin.
Pete Coors' plan, $223 billion in tax cuts for millionaires.
That's an exaggeration. $223 billion is an estimate of what people making over $200,000 a year would pay through the year 2014 if their tax cuts were taken away, not just millionaires.
It's just fiscally irresponsible. We've got to make sure that our troops in Iraq, especially our troops in Iraq, have the training and equipment they need to get the job done over there.
If you lower taxes and you allow families to keep more of their hard-earned dollars, they can reinvest it in the economy and have the economy grow. Ken Salazar, conversely, wants to raise taxes and give more money to the government so the government grows.
And Katie Moore is here to accept her award. Katie.
Well, thank you. I keep thinking, why am I here? What am I doing? I'm such a small fry, and just in the beginning of my career compared to the amazing people that I'm looking around the room and seeing. And first of all, I just want to thank my station for giving me a shot in this business. And 5.5 years ago, they saw the girl from Northwestern and said, you know what? Maybe she's got something. So we'll see if that continues. But thank you to all the journalists in this room who really let me know that it's possible to do what you do and do it as well as you do. And I just want to thank them and my news director and my station and my mom and everyone else for this award. And thank you, Mr. Cronkite and USC, for being what we all aspire to be and giving us someone to look up to from now into the future. You know, you are the best of the best. So thank you.
Also winning for individual achievement is Randy Shandobil, political editor for KTVU TV in Oakland, California. Randy won his second Cronkite Award for his solid writing and bold coverage. Judges were impressed by his well-researched, issue-based stories and his ability to make complex issues easy to understand. Randy was about 6 months ahead of the curve in his uncovering of the rise of independent advocacy groups called 527s that potentially were funneling unchecked amounts of foreign money to presidential political campaigns. This later became known as the Swift Boat story. After profiling the pro-democratic Berkeley-based group MoveOn.org, Randy traveled to Virginia to interview a conservative 527 group called Americans for Job Security about their foreign money policy. Let's see what he found.
There's no evidence it's happening, but then again, we'd never know if it were. Foreign money helping elect John Kerry, foreign money helping President Bush. In these post-9/11 times, a giant loophole in campaign finance law makes that troubling prospect real.
This is John Edwards. This is where he used to live, where he lives now, and where he wants to live next.
This anti-John Edwards ad was bought with money from an independent group called Americans for Job Security. Michael Dubke is the group's president.
One of our tenets from very early on was not to disclose our donors.
Since Americans for Job Security, like dozens of other independent groups, is not technically connected to a candidate or a political party, it doesn't have to abide by new campaign finance limits. Want to give to President Bush? There's a $2,000 cap. Want to give to an independent group that might help the president? The sky's the limit. You could give millions and not even disclose your name.
We're not exactly sure what is and what is not kosher.
Dubke says he doesn't think his group takes foreign money, but isn't sure.
I haven't checked with my lawyers yet.
Randy, please come get your Cronkite.
Thank you very much. Thanks to USC. Walter Cronkite, thank you for being Walter Cronkite. This award says individual achievement, but anyone who works in television news knows there's really no such thing as individual achievement. First of all, you're only as good as your newsroom structure allows you to be. So with that in mind, really quickly, I'd like to thank our news director, Ed Chapuis, and all of the producers who allow me, at least on occasion, to do the kinds of stories I like to do. And again, since this is an individual achievement, I want to give a lot of people their due since they don't get these awards and I do. They'll kill me if I don't mention them. Just real quick, some of the stories I worked on that were part of this entry, I want to thank photographers Tony Hodrick, Don McQuaig, Martin Holton, editors Ron Acker, John Klossner, and I want to thank Dave Iverson, who isn't with KTVU, but whose best practices in journalism program has been immensely helpful to us, managing editor Jim Branson, and I'm especially thankful to Roland DeWalk for his research and helping me muddle through our campaign issues, including the 527s, part of which you just saw. And Dave Gurian, who did some field producing for some of the issue stories we did. So thank you to all of those. You guys don't get to share in this. I do. I just want to acknowledge you. And I also want to thank all of you for listening to me thank people you've never heard of. That's thank you.
And now I'm honored to introduce a legend in broadcast journalism, Walter Cronkite, who is here with us to congratulate today's winners. Walter Cronkite's accomplishments have won him acclaim and trust from journalism colleagues and the American public alike. He has covered virtually every news event during his more than 60 years in journalism, the last 50 affiliated with CBS News. As a United Press correspondent, Mr. Cronkite covered World War II, landing with the invading Allied troops in North Africa, covering the Battle of the North Atlantic in 1942, and taking part in the Normandy beachhead assaults in 1944. After reporting the German surrender, Mr. Cronkite established United Press bureaus in Europe, was named United Press Bureau Chief in Brussels, and covered the Nuremberg trials of Goering, Hess, and other high-level Nazis. In July 1950, Mr. Cronkite joined CBS News in Washington as a correspondent and was anchorman for their political convention and election coverage from 1952 to 1980. He assumed his duties on the CBS Evening News on April 16, 1962, which began as a 15-minute broadcast. On September 2, 1963, it debuted as network television's first half-hour weeknight news broadcast with Mr. Cronkite's headline-making interview with President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Cronkite was the only journalist to be voted among the top 10 most influential decision-makers in America in surveys conducted by U.S. News and World Report, and also was named the most influential person in broadcasting. In a nationwide viewer opinion survey conducted more than a decade after leaving the CBS anchor desk, more than a decade afterwards, he again was voted most trusted man in television news. I'm going to rub up against you a little later. Get some of that. Currently, Mr. Cronkite maintains a demanding international lecture and public appearance schedule and hosts many public affairs and cultural programs. In 1993, he co-founded the Cronkite Ward Company, which has produced more than 60 award-winning documentary hours for the Discovery Channel, PBS, and other networks. We are thrilled to have him with us today. Please welcome a hero for broadcasters everywhere, Walter Cronkite.
Well, Judy, you may be thrilled, but I sit there with goose pimples as you tell me how great I really am. I've suspected that, but I like to have the confirmation that comes from you. I'm particularly delighted to be here today in beautiful Southern California. I'm particularly glad to be here in a day that it isn't sliding, shaking, or burning. And I'm most particularly happy to be with this group here today. I think that I can be so proud not of any of my contributions, because they've been mighty short in putting together this wonderful series of awards, which is proving that we do have some hope in our broadcasting industry, that we will do the educational job so that our native population, native not meant to imply that we don't also have great interest in our non-native population, but that our population at least has some chance of getting enough information to intelligently exercise their franchise at the polls. The difficulty is that there aren't enough stations that are qualifying for this award. It is a hope that by seeing the examples of what can be done, even in some of the smaller stations, the less highly financed stations, these remarkable reports can be done, raising the level of education of our voters and should-be voters who we all know are missing at the polls too often. My concern today with the nature of our citizenry, our country, our voters and our non-voters, is that I'm afraid that we are not a very intelligent population. We are not educated nearly well enough. This is the fault, of course, not only of this administration, but of previous administrations. And the fact that across the country, in local areas and in the counties, the states, the nation as a whole, we are doing such an incredibly poor job of educating our population. It is an absolute crime that we approach a group of people who we give to our children to educate, to teach what our republic, our democracy is really about. We hand our children to them, and then we pay them so poorly that these teachers are almost across the country paid less than the janitors that work in their school buildings. This is a crime, an absolute crime, because we are an undereducated population. Unfortunately, we read the figures that come across to us from overseas, and we learn that in almost every category of education, we are not doing nearly as complete a job as the other nations, particularly those of the Western nations that we consider ourselves a part of. Thomas Jefferson once said, "The nation that expects to be ignorant and free expects what never can and never will be." And that is the terrible bind we are in today. We are not intelligent enough, we're not educated well enough to perform the necessary act of intelligently selecting our leaders for the future. We have got to improve that situation, and it's going to be, to a large degree, up to us in television and radio, in broadcasting, to get that job done. And this is going to require that indeed we journalists put the pressure on, if that is possible, put the pressure on to our employers, those who are more concerned with profits than they are with performance. And we should be doing our best to educate them so that they will hopefully understand the need to educate our population. If we fail at that, our democracy, our republic, is, I think, in serious danger. So it is a great pleasure for me and a great honor for me to have been given my name here in this important job of educating our broadcasters so that they can in turn educate their bosses and in turn educate the vast population of our country so that indeed we can assure that this republic will stand for a few generations more at least. And that is going to be difficult. We're heading into a period of time that is perhaps the most difficult and dangerous that this modern years of America have ever known, and perhaps have ever known since, indeed, our revolution against the British. Just think of what we've got ahead of us. We are almost today one of the poor nations. We are certainly one of the poorest nations of the Western world, of the modern governments. We don't have the money to do the most necessary jobs, starting with paying our teachers. It's got to start there, because of that is where the future rests. But beyond that, we've got a situation in our country where our infrastructure is falling apart. We are desperately in need. Our roads are in bad shape. Our dams are in bad shape. Our entire structure needs an entire redoing, and we don't have a penny to give to that. We're going to try to extract it somehow or other in the budget, but whether that money ever gets back to where it's needed to go to improve the nature of our democracy today, the stature of our infrastructure, I would have some doubt. I would say, I'm sure you'd be very interested in what I would have done if I were president of the United States. But it does seem to me that Bush missed a great opportunity. If he had just been able to put aside his jealousy, if that is what it is, or of the previous Democratic administrations, he would have adopted Roosevelt's Works Progress Administration. He could have put millions of our unemployed to work, and at a cost which would be justified in rebuilding that infrastructure of ours. Instead, he lost that opportunity, which, let me see, how much time do we have? Maybe I could mention some other lost opportunities in the White House recently. We can't go into that here today. I do want to thank all of those of you who put your time into this particular effort of awarding the stations that are doing these exceptional jobs which we saw today. Gosh, you can take such pride, can't you, when you watch those programs and see what some of the smaller stations are doing, as well as the more opulent ones, in understanding the necessity of educating our public. And this job, as it passes down to our broadcasters, our broadcasters have to have the talent that we saw described here today and exhibited here today to us. That's not so in too many of our stations. The success of educating our public through broadcasting will in large measure rest with the talent at the stations themselves, and we must do our job there, and this university is doing that job in helping to educate the next generation so that they will be prepared to do that necessary job. I want to thank you all so much for the kind words you said about me up here today. I want to make clear to you that I'm very proud that my name has been attached to this important effort. But I think you all should know where several of you gave me credit for some part even of the success of this. It was misplaced. I'm so proud that my name was used, but I don't feel that I've contributed all that I probably should to this great effort. And I want to offer to the management, if you'd like to call on me for a little more a little more, why, I stand ready to answer your call. My congratulations again to our honorees today, and my thanks to all of you for what you are doing in educating our population through broadcast. We have to be concerned. I haven't gone into this in great depth. We obviously must be concerned with those who, of our management, who are more interested in profit than they are in the performance. We've got to help educate them, perhaps, as our first move in educating our population. Thank you all for being here today, and look forward to seeing you.
In a couple of hours, some 200 very lucky Annenberg students will have a chance to have an hour-long press conference to ask questions of Walter Cronkite. And if anyone ever wanted to be a student, today is the day to do that. On behalf of management and of labor, thank you all for being with us today.